All right, being the top of the hour, I will call this meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals to order. We have, I believe, one set of minutes to review from February 3rd. I think Andy has already provided a few edits or comments.
Just a couple of minor edits.
Yeah. In light of how brief they are, I'll just simply open the floor for a minute or so for any questions or comments. Oh, do you back it?
Yeah.
Oh, there's, I think one right here. Okay. I'll pass that down.
Last one.
There you go.
I do want to make one comment. As our meeting, we were discussing the making amendments to the bylaw. It was never the intent of my understanding to ever go to town meeting. I realized we have to go to the planning board for it. There's no reason we can't suggest a bylaw for the planning board to review. We can't, I know we can't go. The planning board has to review and approve all bylaws before they ever go to the town meeting. So it was never the intent of what I was saying to go directly to town meeting from our organization. Okay.
So are you looking to edit them?
I'm just, what he says is fine, but I'm just saying, just to clarify it, I think we can suggest a bylaw to the planning board.
Correct. Or
Oh, yeah, I don't think it was tonight.
Yeah. No, the way it was presented the other day that we couldn't, but I'm saying we can. It's just that we can't go to town meeting. That's obvious. Okay.
and we can make a change. Because what I think the discussion was around the shed proposal that we had kind of rendered out something and we said, no, we can't do that. That has to come from the planning board.
That's
so
right.
we could send them a memorandum to that effect.
And we
then
can
they could
suggest a
respond.
bylaw change that they could.
Correct. That's
Review.
Okay. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Thank you.
Now, are we currently talking about the minutes or the draft?
The minutes, just the minutes, February 3rd. So.
February 3rd meeting minutes.
Move the accepting minutes of February the 3rd zoning board of appeals meetings.
Second.
Motion, we have a second. Any discussion?
Maria and I both voting on this meeting, or
Not on, I've missed, that one, but.
I missed that meeting?
So
Sure.
associate members cannot vote
On
on
minutes.
minutes,
Right.
Oh, okay.
and Maria is a full member now.
I'm sorry, who's?
Maria.
Oh, okay.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are accepted as amended. Based on Andy's
I just
tweaks.
clarifying what I hope.
All right, we have just a couple of items of correspondence. I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments about those. Or Michael, if you have any context you want to provide on those, if you don't, that's okay.
Let's see, for EOHLC, the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, I submitted a bunch of amendments to our subsidized housing inventory to include some of the recent comprehensive permits that the town has gone through. I tried adding in one from the planning board that they just approved, but they need to do a few more steps before that can be added to the inventory. There was an appeal to a decision from land court. If the board would like to discuss, it would be recommended to go into executive session, but it's not on the agenda, so that would need to get scheduled for a later date. And the memo was sent to the planning board, and they're anticipating reviewing that tomorrow.
Great. And a question on the inventory list.
Yes.
So some of the address information is confidential. What's the reason behind that?
So Two of those are, one is by the Department of Mental Health, and one is Department of some other service. And they keep those confidential because they don't wanna reveal where there might be
Okay.
a location where.
Okay, thank you, yeah.
Is that why they count zero? They don't wanna tell us?
I believe they're currently not in use, but at one point they
Okay.
were installed.
I just wondering why it was zero. It seems like they would be used. And I would like to hear an executive session on the decisions and everything. Because a lot went into the zoning board's decision that was appealed, so.
In, at the next meeting.
Would you like me to ask council, or is it just?
I don't think we need to have council. I think we can just chat about it. If we need to have council, we can bring it afterwards.
It's gonna be interesting to see where we went wrong. Although we weren't involved in it at the time.
We can, yeah, we'll chat about it. All right. Okay. I need to wait till 7:15 for the 56 hour visit.
Yes.
All right. Well, we've got 8 minutes and we'll get used to it. So there is well, if we can't finish this, we'll get back to it. There is a draft policy that everyone was given. Thank you for Michael for his red lines. So this is a draft that I had that Michael then redlined. Those are incorporated in here as a clean copy. I did ask him just to keep his comments that are on the back, we'll pick on page 2, for discussion. And so just as a reminder, this was a way to sort of give people some some informal guidance, I hate to use that word, about if you're a conforming lot or non-conforming lot, do you need a special permit, do you need a variance, something a little bit more readable form as opposed to the decisions or the rules.
At the top, and I'd like to see then conforming and non-conforming, so it specifies applies to both of them.
Oh, so it's zoning board of appeals policy on for conforming and non-conforming
Yeah.
1 or 2 family dwellings.
All right.
Okay.
If we're reviewing these, right?
Oh, yeah, I mean, we can take a few minutes and start to, I think we'll read it, sort of use the time that we have.
The other thing on setbacks, the linear measurement of how close a building or structure can be, as a foundation can be really good structure's foundation. Because you can have an overhang of 2 feet of the roof line, which is then hanging over the.
What if you can't deliver over the foundation though? If the building extends across the foundation?
If you can be on the foundation, but the overhang can't
I'm
be.
not talking about the roof line, I'm talking about the floor itself, that you can't deliver it over the edge of the foundation.
Like if you have a deck that goes beyond.
Or even the building itself.
The building itself can, like, mine has an overhang in front, you know, it's a.
No, I guess I'm just
I know what
debating
you
the
mean.
point of measurement, right? Right.
I know this is right out of the bylaw,
Right.
but it's not very clear.
Okay, well, that's what we're gonna review, it, right?
One thing to just note too, the reason why this is intended to be a policy, so that technically it's not part of the rules,
Right.
and the rules are gonna supersede all of this. So to the extent someone were to come before us going, well, your policy says this, we can go, that's great, you know.
I take it back.
No, I'm just,
Take it back.
you know,
And I haven't read it in detail, but maybe that's a disclaimer in the policy itself, that we state that.
He did.
Oh, okay, like I said, I didn't read the whole thing.
yeah, yeah. There's, I tried to put a disclaimer in there at the top to sort of, you know, know.
This isn't the bylaw, this is.
right, it's just to kind of help people.
Guidelines.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, because ideally it's to help people actually not even come before us in a strange way if you think about it.
Yeah. And the other thing is, even though the bylaw again says it's undivided by a street, we have lots in towns that are divided by a street. And if you look at the plot plan, there's little arrows indicating that these two lots belong together, although there's a street down the middle. So I'm not too sure that's a really good definition.
That's straight from the bylaw.
I know it's from the bylaw. You know, you never read the bylaw the same way every time, depending on what you're looking for. But now that it came up, I'm just saying, you do have cases where streets are, now some of the cases are just right of ways, but some cases are streets, just the way it happened over time. So anyway, those are my two comments to it.
This is beyond picky. Is it the bylaw or the bylaws?
Bylaw.
Okay, well, in that case, the next paragraph, gotta change it. That's what I thought so too, but I was, you sort of doubt yourself.
Think about these more. Go back here.
All right, why don't we just take a quick break from reading, and just turn to the 56 Harvard Road matter that's scheduled for 7:15. As a reminder, we did as part of our decision, direct the owner who's here tonight. How's everything at home?
Going great.
Excellent. To provide us with a submission concerning his walkway. That cross section should be part of your packets you were provided. So I'll open the floor to members to the extent that they have any comments or concerns or reactions to what's been provided tonight.
I have a question, at least to start. Is this going to be just a gradual incline, or are there going to be any steps in the walkway itself?
Gradual incline.
And it's going to be grass covered?
Mhm. So if I may clarify real quick. So I, upon this initial decision, I went and got various cross section. I talked to conservation to see what's allowed, what they like. And I talked to Frank, the building inspector, as well to kind of cover everything. And then I eventually also went to somebody who puts paths in like this, because it's not my expertise. And they're the ones who initially brought up saying that the way it is the safest way. Because if you were to construct something, it creates creates more of a hazard in the in the winter, it would create more of a hazard. And with the conservation, with like the 30 inches, if we were to put like a specific walkway, because of how it's structured, it's gonna likely make it significantly more dangerous than what it already is. And so I was like, oh, okay. I hadn't realized, because the whole goal is to make it more safe, not more dangerous. So then I did some research and I talked to some people, and the path was done as is for safety for both, initially for horses and for people. Just as like a refresher, this property was used as like a horse business for like horse riding lessons and things. So that was already put in mind. And we do have a stable license with the town. And eventually, it's not on my radar right now. We're finishing the barn, getting that all there. But eventually, I'd love to be able to get a horse. And they said the way the path is, as far as the surface, is already the safest it's going to be. And then I just wanted to double check with building codes to see if there was anything. And then, so Frank, the building inspector, came earlier this week, and I was just asking him to like take a look at everything. And I asked him if there's anything like in the code that like requires like a certain surface or anything, just to cover my bases. And he said there's nothing in the building code that says that like we need to change that. Right now, they said the grass surface is the easiest, the way it currently is the safest and easiest way to maintain as far as drainage, as well as keeping it for like the winter and keeping it like, it was very easy to keep safe this winter. And yeah, I guess we hadn't realized that it was already, as it was done the way for a reason, I guess, and I didn't realize that.
I'm not an expert in any of this, but for a horse, I can see a horse would like a grass. That's fine. They got shoes on and it digs into the grass and everything. For individuals, I don't see how you're going to keep it shoveled, because grass doesn't shovel that easily.
I did it this winter and it was very easy to maintain. And there's specific like salt and stuff like for the grass, so it doesn't like ruin your lawn, because obviously you don't want to ruin your lawn. So there's like specific salt and stuff that goes with there. And it was very easy to safely maintain this year.
It does have a sudden exposure, but, so there is going to be some excavation to get to the grade or not?
No,
Okay.
it's just as is.
So how do you propose to put the stone dust and then any other material in the ground without digging out?
So we would no longer be doing that. So I submitted that initially, that plan. Then once I had somebody come out and, because like on the phone, they say, this is what you do and so on and so forth. When they came out, they said, leave it grass, don't use stone dust, leave it as is. You're making it more unsafe. Like,
so this is not applicable.
Right. My request would be to leave it as is, because after I submitted that, I found out that it was the most safe as is.
But even on this, you say proposed is gravel,
Yes.
so it's not gravel.
For the path,
Yeah,
yes, I had submitted that because the request was to put like more of a specific path. And then
okay.
after,
That was already there. Okay.
yeah.
So just, you keep saying they, who's they who said that it's better to leave alone?
I don't remember the gentleman's name. I had a few people like that I was like getting quotes from. I don't remember like specifically the like name or offhand.
So what business were they in? Were they commercial landscapers, or I guess that's your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. yeah, I had a variety of like landscapers come and like take a look, not only at the path, but for just the landscaping, maintaining upkeep in general. But then I did some research off of this, and apparently it's, if you know what you're doing, it's more common knowledge kind of stuff that I didn't know.
I don't know if I really like it, but just make sure you have insurance, I guess.
That would do.
Any other questions, comments, discussion?
I'm good, thank you.
Just to clarify, this is the one that I can't turn on. Correct, right? Because you have to be there for all the meetings.
Public, this isn't separate.
It's separate?
Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
I can vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's not the subject of the prior discussion. It's kind of like, it's the sequel. So,
Okay.
It's the administrative approval that was written into the decision,
Okay.
or the would be administrative board approval.
if there had been a prior meeting where we were talking about this and then we were now gonna consider like a vote and then you showed up, that would be, obviously that would be more of a concern.
Okay.
Would you like me to also touch base on the second? There were two things in there. Do you want me to touch base on the second one, or do you want me to wait?
What?
In the thing, the proposal letter, sorry, the last letter that I put in with this, was Michael brought it to my attention, after the fact when I was asking for clarification that under the current, like wording of how things were, it was saying that, like people couldn't park in the driveway, they had to park in the horse ring. And I just wanted to clarify that like people can park in the driveway, just cause like, for example, when we have like the handicap, like when Frank came, he's like, yeah, we'll use like the driveway, people who need to should be able to pull close and things like that. So just that they can use it, just the current verbiage could be interpreted as like, you can't park there for dance lessons.
Is it wide enough to do that? In other words, for, access, if there are cars on the.
Yeah, you could, it's wide enough where you could have like two cars pass each other.
What's the width?
I don't know the width offhand. However, I do know that you can pass two cars.
And most of the driveway you can.
Yeah.
From where you have the 3 parking places on the way to the bar, and it's pretty wide.
Yeah, it's wide enough where you can like do two cars.
You know, I don't care how you park with people, it's just that if.
So I just want to, and keep me honest here. Technically, it's not a topic on the agenda, so I don't think it's appropriate for us to discuss it. That being said, if there's something in the decision that you think is either wrong or needs to be modified, that you can make a request, and then we can consider it, and it can either be, was it a non-material or material change? No, non-substantive.
Significant or
Non-significant, a non-significant change doesn't require a public hearing. If it was a significant change, if you're like, I want 50 parking spaces now, or whatever it is, that would probably be, that would be a significant change. So,
if it's helpful, this may not be enough, but in the letter that I submitted for this hearing, I did mention it. I don't know if that's enough to talk about it. Michael would maybe know better if like the thing I submitted to you, if that's like.
I don't have an actual letter. I have our email conversation thread, and it doesn't talk about a formal request for a modification.
Well, if you guys don't have my letter, Maybe that's why we're all standing
Yeah,
here
Yeah, so,
confused.
but no, don't, because we
Yeah.
can't,
Yeah, we can't talk about
discussion.
Right.
If you submit it to Michael, you know, and if we need to put it on the next meeting's agenda, we can. I would just coordinate with him on that one. So let's just, but we can deal with the walkway today.
Perfect. I put the walkway and.
No, that's okay. That's fine. So, because like I said, if you are requesting, the reason is procedurally, if you're requesting a change and we were determined that it was a significant change, we'd have to have a public hearing, it'd have to be noticed, and we'd have to go through all that rigmarole. And so that's why I want to be careful about what gets discussed and what doesn't. So, all right, let's just focusing back on the walkway then. Any other further questions, comments, discussion?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. I'll take a motion, I guess, to approve or acknowledge. I'm not quite sure, like.
Well, if you approve it, you would be approving what was presented here. And since what's presented to the board
Is
is
not
not
reality.
what is going to be done, if I do not recommend approving it unless he's willing to do exactly this.
No,
Which it does not appear to be.
right, it sounds like actually what would be is to request to modify the decision. That's really what,
Well, it depends on what the ask is. If the ask is to not provide a cross-section and not provide a plan of a walkway, that would be a modification to the special permit. If the board wants to continue with what was established in the permit, it would need to have some sort of plan showing where a walkway is and what the surface cross-section would be.
well, search for it.
So because those things were listed in there, it would have to either be a modification or exactly what's in the permit. The permit is vague in saying what the materials need to be.
That's why we asked him to provide additional information.
So just as a point of order here, there's a meeting, agenda item here, rather, that calls for review of the Harvard Road walkway plan submission, possible vote to approve. So how can we disposition that particular item?
What do you need?
Well, it says possible vote. So if there's a possible vote and we don't vote, just let it stand as it is.
It would,
Extend is what it,
No, just let it stand. Like, we don't need to do anything else beyond that. Or do we?
correct. It would be up to the applicant as to what
Right.
go forward.
So why can't we just disposition that agenda item and say, done?
We can.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to also clarify to the extent that there's any additional steps on this that, like, you know. Okay. I think we are in agreement that there's nothing to vote on.
Right.
Okay, so my suggestion is that, I guess the two of you chat, not tonight, about this and the other item. So whether or not we have for a change, technically it's two changes. Or kind of whatever, you know, because ultimately we need for what's written to reflect reality.
Right.
And so, and we just want to make sure that that's all aligned. So,
I realize
okay.
it's too late. I did
No, no, no,
send it to Michael.
No, that's okay. Yeah, no, we'll take care of it next.
But it was a letter that was saying, forget all these things I submitted, and here's something. So I did mean to.
No worries. Not at all. So, okay, all right. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll talk later.
All right. Would you just let me know if it needs to be like a hearing or whatnot?
Yeah, I would just, check in with Michael.
Sounds good.
Go from there.
Thanks so much. Have a great night, guys.
Thank you. Okay. All right then. All right, it's 7:30, so we can move on to the only public hearing that we have scheduled for today, which is the amended zoning board of appeals rules and regulations and a potential vote for adoption. As part of the packet was the revised application requirements, procedural rules, and application forms for special permit, variance, and appeal of building commissioner and zoning enforcement officer, sign officer, accessory apartments. Are there any further questions, comments, edits, anything along that nature that folks would like to discuss? Or, open the floor to Michael, to you as well, if you have anything else that you need to add.
I have no comments.
Okay.
It's a good improvement. So.
Yeah, definitely,
It's good.
definitely.
All right, in that case, I will take a motion to close it here.
You have to public comment.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You're right. I do. Yes. I will open the floor to any public comment. As there are no individuals actually present in the room, there are a few folks that are online. So if anyone has any public comment with respect to this particular item, please raise your virtual hand and Michael will call on you. I will take silence as no public comment. Okay,
I make a motion that we close the hearing.
Second.
we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of closing the public hearing?
All right.
Aye. The public hearing is now closed. We can no longer take comment from the public on this matter. Is there any further discussion amongst members of the board? Good. To be honest,
I move to adopt the Town of Stow Zoning Board of Appeals application requirement, procedure rules, and application forms for special permits, variances, appeals of building commissioners, zoning enforcement officers, sign officers, accessory apartments, as drafted, amended, to have an effective date of April the 7th, 2025, and to authorize Michael Siegel to make non-substantive amendments to such rules to have all applicable dates reflect of the actions of the board.
Second.
good job. We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, one question. What's the April 7th date about? Why that date?
It's the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
All right.
That's the longest motion we've ever made.
You can go on record now. There you
We
go.
appreciate the script. Motion passes.
Title
Thank you.
holder.
All right. I think we're turning to the draft policy then. Just to tick through real quickly some of Michael's comments. First was whether it would be beneficial to have the different items that were listed on the second page of the policy in paragraph form as opposed to bullets. I don't think I'm gonna say strong. Feeling one or the other. For the record, I'm going to draft the bullets. That should make a difference. So that was back. Anybody feel strong one or the other? No.
Yeah, paragraph form is better.
Serious.
I prefer, well,
And I'm just, I'm doing a hard time.
I prefer bullet. I think it's more readable, but that's just my opinion.
I like the bold.
Yeah,
I'm indifferent.
All right, I think we've got 3 bullets. We in one paragraph and a couple agnostics. So I'm going to use the chair's prerogative and keep it the way it is. Under non-conforming lots that may require a variance, Michael had a question, which was, would this be confusing based on the applicability for another non-residential example that can be used? Okay, I don't know, anyone have any thoughts about it? And frankly, it's for, really looking for if there are any better examples for non-conforming lots that may require a variance. I, 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 I,
You could have a business in a residential district, and for them to add to their structure or something like that would require variance. Not only is it non-conforming because, well, it's not permissive, but it's a non-conforming use.
Because it's not a 1 or 2 family residential, that might work.
Because there's a lot of, even any non-conforming lot, they have to come to us, no matter what the use happens to be or what it's zoned for.
So the way you just said that, on that same, the second bullet, does that really need to be expressed? If anything that's gonna happen on a non-conforming lot is coming here, regardless of whether it's construction or not, you have to actually make a statement to declare that.
I mean, I guess I was just trying to provide examples when it would be a variance as opposed to a special permit. Because you're right, most if it's not conforming lot, they're doing something big on the property. It's gonna require a special permit, but like it's that unique moment.
Okay, so if that's the distinction, then if we're just trying to have the nuance between a variance and a special permit.
Right.
These aren't meant to be exhaustive though, so.
No.
These are just meant to be some illustrative.
Right, what I'm thinking is that maybe somewhere here we might want to say, this is not an exhaustive list, this is just examples.
Yeah.
See, Michael will clarify it.
You could just put example of.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. It also might be smart just to say, make sure that's clearly spelled out as.
Yeah, we can just put at the top, like, set forth below or some illustrative.
Yeah.
Situations that may occur, this is by no means an exhaustive list.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point.
It's kind of hard to be exhaustive when there's all kinds of possibilities.
Well, I mean, I'm sure
There's
this
a
one's,
lot of permutations here.
Yeah. Coming up with visual examples would be difficult.
Yeah, we had talked about doing that at one point.
It's
I
hard.
don't know if people are still feel inclined to. I mean, I'm sort of ambivalent one or the other.
Like there's a net planner's guide that he had that showed.
Yeah, I didn't like those. Not that I didn't like the visual. I didn't like the idea of the visual examples. For some reason, I don't know why. I just didn't like the ones they came up with.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just me.
Well, they needed to someone come up with something
I know.
satisfied. Whether it's
Yeah.
exhaustive or
I know.
the best way of doing it is difficult to do.
I mean, if we're comfortable, with the way the descriptions are set up, then we don't need it. I mean, like I said, one of the you're the one who's, no offense, Mike, but you're the one who deals with the public a whole lot more on a day-to-day basis. Do you think it would be better to have some visuals? Do we need them? Okay.
So once we conclude whatever this policy is, what's the procedure, what's the artifact used for and when? So,
What happens to it?
right, what do we do with this and who's gonna consume it?
But it's an appendix.
So I want to hear Michael's rendition, because he's the guy that's gonna have to take care of it.
So the policy is going to be a separate document from the rules and regulations. It will be posted on the website under our rules and regulations, and I'll change it a little bit to say in policies.
Yeah.
So that when the public is looking for the information about the application process, what's expected, it's all in one place for them. When people come into our office.
So is there like a 10 steps, and this be one of the steps that I should review before I try to go through any of the process? Okay, all right.
So I will be updating the rules and regulations webpage, which doesn't require any votes or approvals, because it's just informational. And I'll have the different things that the public should be reviewing as they begin and eventually end that process through this board. It'll be something that when people come in asking for copies of things, it'll be attached with it so that they can use it as a reference throughout their process.
Okay. So it's caveat emptor, right? If you don't read the description or somehow you get jammed up because you didn't read it or you misfiled something.
I think in some ways, one could argue there's enough out there already. That
Yeah.
is right, but this is just sort of one more,
Right.
maybe an even more readable form. You know, I think the ways that like if you throw 5 different ways for someone to catch it, they'll get one.
Yeah.
That's the hope.
Okay,
The
good.
thing is, though, they gotta go see Michael.
Well, yes,
And
you know,
discuss it with him and he can clarify what
that's right.
the issues are.
On the last bullet there, you had a comment question. It was, so was it the phrase increase in nonconformity? I feel like that might be confusing.
Yes, because in the previous sections, it talks about increasing a nonconformity, and then you say it doesn't do it even though it looks like it will.
Oh,
It's something like, it could be rephrased to say small scale, non-material changes such as dormer sheds, one-story garages, proportional storage structures do not require a special permit or variance from ZBA.
I think that makes sense, because it's along the lines of saying it's not adding to that non-conformity.
but the thing is that technically it can, right?
Right.
Because like, you know, if you have a house that's 10 feet from the, if the setback is, sorry, if they're only 10 feet from the lot line, and you build a shed that suddenly is 9 feet from the lot line, you've increased the nonconformity. But it would be deemed a non-material change and wouldn't actually require a special permit.
It wouldn't be an intensification of the nonconformity.
Okay. I think that might be straight out of your work, is it? Yeah.
He reads it every night.
Okay, let me play around with that.
And does that fall into the things like, for instance, if you're putting the shed on, and you're putting it within the line, like instead of, going, if you're within 10 feet, say, instead of going that 9 feet, you can put it next to it at the 10 feet, and you're still in that same.
Well, sheds are one of those things, right? If that's,
Well, then there's not even an intensification at all,
Right.
yeah.
That would be the same setback, so no
Right.
intensification.
So that would be essentially an obvious.
Right, yeah. It's more the like, oh, well, if you went in an extra 6 inches,
Okay.
it's gonna be fine. Sheds though are somewhat odd because in a sense, if your house was 10 feet from the lot line and you put your shed 6 inches from the lot line, that would still be deemed, if based on your interpretation of that Yorkland decision, that's a non-material change.
right.
Because it's because of the nature of a shed.
The neighbor can always push it over at night.
That's right. All right. We don't have to vote on this right now because I'm gonna work with Michael to make some additional changes. But any other sort of thoughts, comments, edits right now?
No,
Okay. I realized that people didn't really have a chance to read
yeah, I was gonna say,
this
just when you get
advance.
that next draft,
Yeah.
good to read it before.
Yeah, I think what we can do is like maybe turn it around relatively quickly, circulate it, and then people can have some thoughts about it, and then maybe put it on the agenda for next meeting for an actual vote.
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. The only other item that was on our agenda today was potential process for reviewing special permits, I realize I may be opening up a massive can of worms based on my last comment last time, but it was just more the noting the fact that our agendas are somewhat light, or have been, and I think will be potentially. I'll talk to Michael more about that. And the fact that there is a provision in the zoning bylaw that one would say, in fact, requires special permit reviews, despite the fact that the zoning, I think in the history of the zoning board, it's never been something that's been done. So,
Not never.
rarely,
Yeah.
rarely and inconsistently, put it that way.
Okay.
So I just wanted to just take 5 minutes to see if, what people's thoughts are. Should there be a formalized process for how we do this? Would it be better just to get rid of the provision, try to go through the process of getting rid of the provision? I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of opening it up for a few minutes of discussion. And obviously, you're the one who has looked at this already, so.
One thing we can just put in there, if the building commissioner suggests that we review one, that we can call you in and review your special permit.
Yeah.
People complain.
I have a different take of that. I think what we should do is periodically review the permits that have been processed and completed and give ourselves the opportunity to say, oh, maybe we should go look at that one, as opposed to just getting rid of the ability to do it. Because Ernie just mentioned tonight about, well, maybe we should go take a look at Elizabeth Brook. Okay, but if we had a tickler that says, every 6 months, look at the roster and say, okay, anything we need to review? No, okay, good, done. Next.
How would you, just to kind of play with that for a second, would you literally just have a list of all the special permits every 6 months, or would you say, all right, anything within the last
Just
12
whatever
months
the
or
next clip
24
is,
months or
right? So
whatever?
whatever, yeah, just a rolling list that says, okay. And, that may be the opportunity to say, can we go back to blah, blah, or whatever, but at least there's an opportunity to stimulate the discussion as opposed to just abandon it completely. That would be my thought. But just do it in some kind of a systemic process that allows you to say, oh, yeah, let's go down and look at Elizabeth Brook or the golf course or whatever.
Like on Elizabeth Brook, they're supposed to put a gate going to the road that goes to the wells. I haven't seen the gate there. Maybe I'm not looking close enough, but I haven't seen a gate to keep people, casual people.
It's glass.
It's glass, okay.
It's plexiglass.
And also, I was concerned about the curbing for handicap, because I had a friend that the curb was there and there's a handicap parking place. She stepped out and fell off the curb and broke an ankle. And it's simple to do, and I wanted it to be level and gradual rise to the sidewalk area. And that was one of the things we brought up during the discussion. So I just like to see that they really pay attention to the details that we brought up.
So this is talking about reviewing the things that we had already set in place, is that correct?
Yeah, because, so under the zoning bylaw right now, 9.2.9, a periodic review at least annually that's the issue. Shall be conducted by the special permit granting authority to ensure compliance with the conditions imposed within the special permit. The building inspector is supposed to assist us in that regard. Notification of any deficiencies found through said review shall be forwarded to the property owner, special permit holder, and if they fail to rectify the deficiencies, we actually could rescind the special permit, even though it's been X amount of time.
But see, that word shall gets in the way because it could be can or may, but we always end up saying shall, right?
Right,
So, okay, it says shall. We don't do it. But I think inherent in the word shall gives you the latitude to either do it or not, right? So maybe the words might want to change. I don't know what the word change might be. If we're going to do it on a different kind of a cadence, as opposed to we shall do every one, right?
Well, I guess it depends on how you define review. I mean, review could be looking at, the special permits in a meeting and just deciding we're happy, we have no issues with these permits. And therefore we've reviewed it Doesn't mean we have to go in depth.
The problem is that, and I'm sorry, I'm being picky,
Yeah, no,
to whoever drafted this, shall be conducted to ensure compliance.
Right.
That's the building
Yeah.
inspector's
I mean, it does actually say the building inspector is supposed to assist. We could just say, hey, here are these 10, go out and take a look, which I'm sure, love that, from my perspective, I think like the middle ground is the ideal. I mean, frankly, I think this should be changed to say a periodic review list annually may be conducted, because then it allows us the discretion, but I still want to keep some discretion to be able to say, well, no, we want to check this out because we've heard problems or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, shall, David, in law, shall means
Do it.
you must do it.
Right.
May gives us discretion. Yes.
For the dog kennel on South Acton
so
Road,
exactly right.
we put that in there, and we did have a review after a year, just to
I
make,
remember.
because it was a
Yeah.
brand new
Yeah.
operation.
I remember.
Make sure that they did everything they said they were going to do, plus
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
And we were just concerned about the dogs
No, I
getting
remember.
away and how they were interfering with the neighbors. The neighbors are concerned with it. Some of them were, some weren't.
Yeah.
And
So if
we did that.
if there's a language change that, kind of allows the declaration to be, as you explained, I think that would be appropriate. And then give ourselves the opportunity to have some ability to review the permits.
Can you say something like shall have the authority to review?
I think we have the authority, it's just a matter of the frequency.
I think it's literally just change shall to may.
Yeah.
But, go ahead.
So are we, well, I want to take a few steps back.
Yeah.
That would be a change to the zoning bylaw.
Right, that's a
We can't
global
do
issue.
It's not something we can do.
Oh, no, I know that. But
So
we can request that it be considered.
is that what the board, because that's not what's on the agenda. So if that is something the board want to do, we could bring that to another conversation. The agenda item is about how the board would go about doing such review. So
Okay.
we could table this to the next meeting.
So what you're saying is we don't want to mess with the language.
No, what he's saying is, and
We need to consider
I feel like
it.
it's, the agenda item is broad enough that we could cover it, but
I
I'll
would
take,
agree with that,
but I'll defer.
yeah.
I think that his point is saying is that arguably it's off the agenda in terms of what the definition is of process, the special permit review. So let's put that on as an agenda item about possible amendment, possible request to modify 909. Just so that we can, that way there's no argument as to whether or not it was on the agenda or not. So,
So that would be the opportunity to alter the verbiage
or to request,
of,
I mean,
Well, no.
all the, that's the.
Well, right, so-
Yeah. So, okay, so we'll do that next, we'll talk about that next meeting. And so the other issue is then like, all right, well, if we're gonna take a look at special permits, like what would we wanna do? How would we wanna go about doing that? Thoughts?
I think when we make a decision, that's when we should determine whether or not, we want to give priority to, to a review, whether we consider, I think that's the time frame where we could set up a kind of, a priority issue, whether this one looks like we really should review it, this one looks like maybe we should, this one looks like, well, probably not. In other words, just like have a flag system for the future once we make at the time
Oh, no.
we make the decision.
I think you're right. I think going forward, at the time that we issue, if we do issue a special permit in response to an application, I think like we did with the kennel, I think that's a good opportunity to go, you know what? We want to make sure, and we're gonna like kind of flag that for future, reference. I think you're right.
Yeah.
The question I think right now is
What do we do? about
going
the
backwards,
next one?
exactly.
well, the
I mean,
going,
just out of curiosity, in the last year, how many special permits have we issued? Ballpark.
There was about 10 last year,
I mean, that kind of 40.
about eight or nine
Okay.
within
So
last
time about
year.
18.
So
Maybe we should like set up when we have some time, which we may be doing now, set up a time where we can just do like a review of those. Start with the 10 most recent ones maybe and set up that kind of priority, was we not want to set up a review of them?
So the board has received about 900 applications.
Jeez.
So I,
mean, like,
since the beginning,
of time?
I'm
since
sorry.
the beginning of the board.
Well, I don't,
So
yeah.
technically,
You wanna just take them in 100 application tranches? I'm joking.
well,
After 10 years.
So where are we going with that?
I guess I would have to go through and see how many of those are special permits versus variances versus appeals versus comprehensive permits.
I mean,
Can you just deal with modern times here?
Yeah, like past stuff would be closed, right? Like it wouldn't be open.
I mean, it's one of those where it's like, I mean, I'll be extreme here. If a special permit was issued 10 years ago and there was an issue with it, like, I don't think it's really appropriate discretion, and I realize I'm taking a hypothetical terms out,
Right.
to consider rescinding a 10-year-old special permit because of some small issue that apparently no one has complained about. You know, but,
Isn't that how the bylaw is written though?
well, I understand
Say
that, yes.
annually though.
And
So does that make it a limit?
So are we supposed to review every single permit every year?
That's how it reads.
That's how it
Yeah,
reads.
really.
It doesn't say within the, you know, all special permits issued within the last year. It literally says, you know, yeah.
Now, can I ask a question? The drive-bys that we do, would it be kind of feasible to do it more of like a less intense, like let's say in, you know, April of every year,
Drive around town?
we'll get a print up, like like say next meeting would be like a print up of all the special permits. And then it's like on our minds until the next one to just basically doing drive-bys to check in.
If we're gonna do that, we have to, notify the applicant. that we're
If it's just a
doing it.
one-person drive-by.
so,
No, we could just hire a bus and have it drive all around town. Right, just take a day and get on the bus and go through all the streets. Yep, okay, we're good.
Cause I was trying to be like, keep it like a
No, I get it.
non-invasive, like we're only looking
Here's-
at the things
here's
that are
one
gonna
thing,
bug
one way to-
neighbors.
Here's one idea. While I acknowledge the fact that the way it's written right now would imply that we should look at all of them.
Right.
There's also nothing that stops us saying, okay, well, we're gonna take this step by step.
Right.
You know? I mean, I would be inclined, considering also that, like, we are, you know, we can get assistance from the building inspector, probably on town staff a little bit. Like, in the last 2 years, that probably means what, 15, 18 special permits total?
Yeah, 20-ish.
You know, I mean, I would find it reasonable to sort of, you know, between the building inspector and town staff, just to grab those 18 and go, all right, which one of these, you know, deserve further review?
Right.
You know, as almost like a culling.
Actually, you can just go through them and, you know, a lot of them, you're building a new home around Lake Boone and
Yeah.
they build it, and that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the one thing that we don't, well, maybe you do, Michael, so I don't want to speak for you, but I know I don't, is we issue a permit and in the time that they need to execute it, they don't, right? So it lapses, right? So have we had any of those? And if we do, those would certainly be ones that we would like to say, okay, let's, you know, do something about it,
The
right?
building commissioner would take care of that. He wouldn't give them a permit because it's
But
expired.
is it, what's the obligation on this board to review that particular permit?
You know, we approve something.
Let's have Michael answer.
so once it gets approved, they would then submit a building permit.
Yeah.
And if it would then go to all the departments who are responsible for land use. And we would each have to sign off on different building permits.
Play it out the other way. I get the permit and I don't take action on it. I don't get any building permit, I don't get any design, and I'm saying 2 years, a year plus 364 days comes up and it's gonna expire tomorrow. So it's gonna expire. So, but I somehow don't pay attention to that and something goes on. I'm just trying to figure out where that line is that either the planning department, the building inspector, really isn't had any advice or information because nobody submitted a plan. But we got a permit sitting here.
So does the individual go ahead and build?
Well, that's what I'm trying to make sure that if that's the case, that,
If he builds and no one calls him on it, in 10 years, he's grandfathered.
but if the permit expired
That doesn't make any difference.
and we don't acknowledge that it expired and pull it back, if that's an obligation or an opportunity for us.
So illegally building something is another thing, building on an expired permit is another. So,
So what's the definition? So we issue a permit, it's got a certain amount of time before it needs to be executed, right? Whatever that window is, right? Doesn't matter. So the window goes by, it closes. I haven't done anything. What's the status of that special permit?
it is no longer applicable.
So it's null and void.
It's void.
So
So they-
if I went ahead tomorrow and broke ground and built something thinking I had a permit, what happens?
You would then get a cease and desist from the building.
Get a Sheldon report.
And I guess the practical issue would be a new owner doing something. You know, I probably, the present owner probably wouldn't do anything if he hadn't done anything in 10 years, but he sells the property to somebody else, then it could be an issue. I think that would be the concern in that kind of situation.
How you, this question is said with an ignorance towards our files. If someone were to say, can you grab every special permit that we've issued in the last 18 months? How hard is that? Or how time consuming is that?
It would take me an hour tops.
Really?
Yeah, I have all, the last 18 months, I have those all digital.
How far back do we have digital? I'm not suggesting we're gonna go all the way back.
We have digital copies of most things from 2017 onward.
Oh,
Really since Karen started the position. So now I'm going back and getting the rest.
I mean, we could, if we wanted to, just say, all right, take a list on, you know, we could do 2024, we could do 18 months. You know?
Yeah, I think the
I mean, the
time,
reality is we'll probably look at them and half of them will be like, you know, it's a shed, we don't care. You know what I mean? Or, you know, especially because looking back, let's be honest, there were a few special permits we issued that we probably didn't even need to. Acknowledging the fact that the bylaw seems to indicate that we need to be reviewing all 900 of them.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, that from a burden perspective, like that, like there's no way we could do that in a meeting. So I frankly think the best idea is, you know, say 12 months or 18 months, get a list, you know, take a look at them, you know. Unless there's others that people want to cherry pick.
see, that's what I'm thinking too, you know, I mean,
If
timeline
anyone
does
remembers
make
any that
some
they
sense.
want to grab.
yeah, because the timeline, like you said, there may be some things within the 18 months that really we don't even need to look at. There might be something going way back that might become an issue. Like in the case I was just mentioning, where a new owner comes in and wants to do something.
Yeah, but we're not gonna know.
Yeah.
I mean,
like,
I'm thinking it may actually, instead of trying to do it all in one meeting, it may be better to say that, every meeting, one or two is reviewed. Because how, you know, can we logistically, I mean, maybe we can do 18 in one meeting, I don't know, but at the same time, you know, it might be, you know, what I may say is, 12 months after the issuance, we do a review. And then from that point, we can decide if we need to do another review in another 12 months or 8 months, whatever that is, but otherwise, it might get unwieldy to,
well, my hope is also we can just change this to a May and we don't have to worry about it anymore.
yeah, exactly.
So,
I think things are already in place to take care of all these situations, so I don't know why we have to do anything.
I mean, I'm
The
like,
bylaws have to be
you
changed
know,
also.
I was like,
Well, I think that the letter of the law is we're not doing it, right?
Right.
Right, so if that's somehow a predicate that we need to manage, then we either change the language or we put a process in place, right?
This thing's already in place. The building commissioner takes care of most of it.
It doesn't say the
Grandfather
building,
laws.
it says.
I know what it
this
says.
board.
I know what it says. It's, the planning board has the same problem.
Right,
all right, why don't I just throw this out there? Like, let's take last 12 months, take 2024. And then I would suggest that you ask the building inspector, hey, have you heard of any problems? I know, but if he's like, you know what, yeah, you need to look at this one from 3 years ago, like, stick that on there as well.
We did a kennel because we thought there might be a problem.
Yes.
That's a legitimate thing for us.
Oh, yeah, no, I know. And I'm not saying that there's gonna be, I'm just saying,
Someone new and doing something, we need to look at what they've done to make sure they're. But, anyway,
and then
we need Musk here to take care of things.
We'll doge it, yeah.
we're waiting for, waiting for that first joke. Okay.
So is there any proprietary information that you couldn't like send it out in advance that we could look at it and say,
Oh, yeah.
pick these 3 and do those 7, or don't look at them all, or can we do that without necessarily violating any open meeting laws?
Yeah, that's a question, yeah.
I
As long as we don't discuss it, you just send out the materials going,
can send out materials ahead of time, but you can't send back anything.
No, just, just the.
no,
just the
I like that,
quick
yeah.
snapshot, here they are, right? Here's the roster.
We'll be ready for you the next meeting.
Yeah, actually, if you don't, could you do that?
Of the 2024,
Yeah.
so do a list, or do you want the actual decisions?
How hard would it be to pull those?
Not hard.
It's a lot of paper.
I mean,
It's just the decision. It's not the application, it's just the decision.
yeah,
Our decisions are
Yeah, just the
small.
ones that we've actually approved, right?
Yeah.
That we fit, literally processed and said, okay, go forth.
I can get those.
Yeah, and then we can cherry pick them or just
Yeah.
get a consensus of what we
And if
want
we
to look at.
review them ahead of time, we all show up, you're going,
Yeah,
we're happy, we're fine with these, yeah, if you can do that.
Take a year at a time.
What's
2024,
it-
and then the next meeting, 2023, and.
Well, if it makes you feel better, we're supposed to do this annually, we can start it again next year too. So, okay.
So ahead of that, do you want me to notify the property owners?
No.
Not for this.
I don't think so. I don't think we need them here. Like,
If we see something in there that we probably should talk to them, then we can do that.
then we'll bring that.
okay, I don't know if I'm over processing this enough, but do we like have to put something in the newspaper that says this is what's going on?
It's on the agenda.
Do a review of the permits? No, but if you wanted to open up the public hearing again, you would have
Well,
to.
we don't need to do
And
a
that would
public.
be an expense of the town.
So if we needed to do a public hearing, that would be if we see something that's an exception that we want to actually have a conversation about, that would be the case. But in terms of saying to the general public that, okay, the board is going to look at the last 20 permits that have been issued and they're going to review it at the meeting, and there'll be on a meeting announcement on the agenda or something like that. Does that suffice? Okay, no, good.
All right. So we'll do that.
I'm
And
glad you brought this up, David.
I don't hand to the devil's tools. Not my fault, it's on the application. Okay, that is all that we have on the agenda for tonight. Agenda for next meeting? Other than the items, is it just the items we've talked about tonight?
It's just, that's what we talked about tonight. I was expecting a permit application, but it didn't come through.
Oh,
So
really?
it would have to get pushed then to May.
Okay. All right, then.
Are we going to do an executive session or not?
Yeah, there will be an executive session next week,
Next meeting.
next meeting. So the council does not need to attend.
And that's regarding the,
Decisions.
in the case there that you're saying.
Correct.
Court case, yes.
I'm sorry, which case is it?
Sure.
Trustee.
The
Rest of the
trustee.
case.
Oh, okay.
All right, and with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting at 8:10.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
All right,
Motion adjourned. Sorry, motion granted, meeting adjourned.
done.